Good afternoon, everyone. We're going to be starting with our third webinar in a while. Thank you.
Our life is shaped by our mind, for we become what we think. Good afternoon, everyone. I welcome you all to the third webinar of the day, Mindfulness and Mental Health. The concept of mindfulness finds its root in the Buddhist literature. In recent years, psychotherapists have turned to mindfulness meditation as an important element in the treatment of a number of health-related problems. Mindfulness is an integrative mind-body approach that helps people to manage their thoughts, feelings, and mental health. Today, in this webinar, our panelists will tell us how mindfulness and mental health are inextricably linked together. I request all the panelists to kindly switch on their camera. I would like to begin by introducing the first panelist for this webinar, Dr. Purkit Sharma. Dr. Purkit Sharma is a well-known clinical psychologist and a columnist. He integrates the richness of ancient spiritual perspectives and contemporary psychology, helping people reclaim their lives. During the last 15 years, the focus of his work has been discovering one's true self, finding one's raison d'etre, connecting, connecting to the true self, and realizing the vast potential in oneself. With writing several articles and columns for prominent newspapers, he received an award from the Indian Council of Philosophical Research in Philosophy and Spirituality. We welcome you, sir. Next, we have Ms. Mahek Bhadwa Benham, a psychologist by profession with specialization in counseling and expressive arts therapy, professional diploma in yoga science, a certified clinical hypnotherapist, a cultural ambassador between India and Japan, and a certified TESOL-TEFL teacher. She continues to seek more opportunities to discover, learn, live, and let live a life of fulfillment and joy. She also authored and published the book 31 Daily Practices to Inculcate Mindfulness Meditation in Education. Greetings, ma'am. We also have with us Ms. Soumya Mathur. Ms. Soumya Mathur, founder of Dhyana, is a trained psychotherapist and yoga instructor. An alumnus of Lady Shri Ram College for Women, has a vision to simplify well-being and allow people to create space within through conversations, movements, and mindfulness. Welcome, ma'am. Next, I would like to invite Ms. Kashika Bhatia, a DPS Rohini alumnus. She is currently a student of physical therapy at Delhi Institute of Pharmaceutical Sciences and Research University. We welcome you, ma'am. Next on the panel, we have Durba Roy, student DPS Rohini, a class 11 student with humanities as a stream, is also a national level dancer. We also have with us Ronnie Gupta, student DPS Rohini, a class 11 humanities student, is enthusiastic for reading and also has a keen interest in painting. Now, I would like to introduce the moderator for this webinar, Ms. Mamta Nangya. With 15 years of psychology teaching and career counseling experience, Ms. Mamta Nangya has been awarded a certificate in teaching experience by the earlier HRE minister, Ms. Smriti Irani. Further, she has been a resource person for CBSE and for NCERT video lectures. While spreading awareness for mental health, she has been a panelist in many related forums. We welcome you all. I request Ms. Mamta Nangya to begin with the proceedings of the webinar.
Thank you, Shreya, for such a warm welcome. A very good afternoon, everyone. I would like to start the session with an experiential. I would request all of you to sit comfortably in an erect posture and breathe deeply. And while you do that, I would want you to expand your abdomen and breathe in completely the refreshing oxygen. And as you exhale, visualize the toxins being released. All your energy is focused on your breathing. You're traveling with your breath within. Now visualize with this deep breathing mentally 3 baskets, one on your right where you put in all the thoughts of the past which bother you, and you're closing the lid tightly. Another basket on your left where you put in all the thoughts of the future and close the lid tightly. Just in front of you is a basket which you are visualizing mentally where all the thoughts of the present are there. You're breathing deeply with your abdomen expanded and breathing in completely, and when you exhale, contracting your abdomen and breathing out completely. You're also becoming aware of any sensations which are occurring within your body, and with this, you're able to pat yourself with self gratitude for being so mindful. I hope you liked a quick mindfulness experiential. And I would also like to start with a beautiful quote: life is what is happening to you when you're busy making other plans. That is exactly what we are going to talk about today, which is a very important topic of positive psychology: mindfulness. It is the ability to be in the present moment, in the state of awareness, of being non reactive and not being overwhelmed by emotions. Mindfulness is also a process of achieving this state of awareness. This mindfulness concept is a very important topic of discussion, particularly in the pandemic, where mental health concerns have been on the rise. It is our pleasure to take this discussion forward with such eminent panelists who have joined us today, and we are all looking forward to be enlightened on mindfulness and mental health. We would like to start the discussion with you, Dr. Pulkit, and you can help us with an understanding of the difference that mindfulness can make in our life as the mental health concerns are on the rise, especially anxiety and loneliness, a lot of behavioral issues, a lot of suicidal thoughts at times, and how mindfulness can actually help us enhance our mental health and to address these concerns of mental health effectively. Dr. Pulkit, please. Dr. Pulkit, over to you. Dr. Pulkit, I request you to unmute yourself.
Yeah. So, good morning, everybody. And let's look at this very, very fascinating topic that we have right now. About mindfulness, let's start with Lord Buddha. So he once said a very, very deep and unfathomable thing about mindfulness, which was: mindfulness, I declare, is all helpful. All things can be mastered by mindfulness. By that, he meant that if we are mindful, then we can navigate through various ups and downs of life in a very calm and a meaningful manner. Mastery does not mean that the future will be in our control, or that the present can be in our control, or that we'll be able to do something about our past. But it simply means that no matter what challenges come our way, we can walk through them with an unwavering demeanor. That's what mindfulness basically is. And because we have this, pandemic, and our lives have changed since March 2019, when the lockdown was announced first, and we all started, sort of restricting to our homes. So, in this context, we are now at a very interesting fork of road, a fork in the road where we can either keep on despising what we have lost, or we can sort of be in this sort of anxiety and depression that, oh, we have lost something and our lives have changed. Or we can simply adapt to the new way of life that is now going to be. And usually, when we leave that, when we leave that fascination that I can change my reality, because all of us carry that notion within ourselves that we can,
या मिलेगी नहीं मेरे ख्याल से
that we can,
तो घर पे भी होगी बेटा
that we can change our reality, but the fact is that we cannot change our reality. And the sooner we accept this, the sooner we come to terms with it, we get vast opportunities, because when we know that something is given to us, so it's like that a clay has been given to you. Clay is unformed, it does not have any form, and it is soft. But when you accept that that's what has been given to me, you can make out different beautiful forms out of it. The same way when you accept your reality, when you are anchored in your here and now, then a new journey begins, that what next, what I can do from here. So that's why mindfulness is extremely important in these contexts. And so how do we achieve this mindfulness? I'm going to very briefly, talk about that. So the first thing is giving up a desire to control things, because all of us carry an intense fantasy of how we should be, of how other people in our life should be, how the world at large should be. And we are wasting a lot of time, energy, putting a lot of pressure on ourselves, on people, or just, by sitting and daydreaming about an ideal, time, that we lose a lot of energy and, zest in doing that. So the most important thing is, first of all, to acknowledge.
Dr. Pulkit, I request you to unmute yourself.
I don't know who muted me. I'm sorry. I'm sorry about that. Yeah. So what I wanted to say is that, that here, how can we inculcate this mindfulness? I am just discussing a few basic points onto that. The first is a desire to control the reality. We all carry a fantasy of how we should be, how people around us should be, how the world at large should be. And we are wasting a lot of time, emotional energy in sort of, trying to make that reality. Or if we cannot make that reality, we are simply sitting and daydreaming, about how the world should be. And so the first thing is to accept this, reality, accept it as a clay that has been given to you, that this is an unformed soft clay that has been given to me. I cannot change it, but yes, I can make different forms out of it. So what you do next is your choice. And that's why it's very important to first accept what is in here and now. The second related thing is, if you notice your mind at any given moment, it's most often going either in the past, thinking about a good past or mourning a bad past, or thinking about a future, a good future, or anticipating some unforeseen circumstances in future and getting really, really worked up. So that's what we normally are doing. We are never in here and now. And because we are not in here and now, we lose out this moment. Now this moment is extremely important. Anything good can happen in this moment. This moment is what is real. Our action can be in this moment. It can never be in past, it can never be in future. That's why it's very, very important to be anchored into the present. And how can we be anchored into the present? The first, as Miss Mamta Nangia said, that whenever you don't find yourself anchored in the present and you realize it, just come back to your breath. Even if you are sitting in your office, going in a bus, driving in a car, and you cannot, close your eyes and deep breathe in, no problem. Just keep your eyes open and bring back the attention to your breath. Don't breathe deeply, but just follow your breath. Just see it going in, feel it coming out, and you do it a few times and you will be in here and now. The second most important thing is, which we all lack these days, is developing frustration tolerance. Yes, see, we all go to, some of us are very, very, excited to exercise in gym and pick up, heavy weights, because we want to endure that pain to build a strong body. Similarly, to be able to build frustration tolerance, we need to endure emotional difficulties, and that's a very sad part of life, because everybody these days is very hell-bent on this thing, that no, I will not tolerate any nonsense. We go with this idea in our mind. I will not tolerate any nonsense. I want everything perfect in my life, no frustration. We all aim for a frustration-free life. But to tell you the truth, that is making us emotionally and mentally weak. So start start accepting the normal frustrations of life. So if it's a lockdown, if it's a pandemic, that's a normal frustration of life. You need to accept it and you need to brace up for it. Similarly, if you cannot do things, if you don't get what you want, these are not big emergencies. Always try to tease out in life that what are real big emergencies and what are minor annoying things. The minor annoying things are something we need to face with very calmly and very happily, because that will make us develop this frustration tolerance, and only then we will be able to anchor in our present. Else, because if we have a low frustration tolerance, we will be either very agitated, we'll be worrying about our future, we'll be dissecting our past, and we'll never be able to live in the present moment. So what mindfulness basically requires us to do is it is to just sit back and observe all our thoughts, feelings, and actions without judgment or criticism. It's like that you are sitting near a stream that's flowing. You are not going into the stream. You are just letting the stream flow and you are watching it from a distance, you know, that just let it be. And the very important aspect of it, which the Chinese can make the muddy water clean. You can make the muddy water clean. Let it be still, and it will gradually become clear. So that's what it is. We can never deal with the thoughts and feelings in our mind. If we deal with one thought, one feeling, they will emerge 10 or 20 more. The key to that mastery is silence. That just sit back, watch, and let that mud settle down. And in the end, I'll just give you few steps for an experiential, which you can do, and we end it over here. So I want you to close your eyes and to relax. And now gently focus on your abdomen and just breathe normally. You don't need to deep breathly. Just breathe normally and slowly. Watch your breath coming in and going out, and just feel this rhythm. The inhalation and exhalation should be natural and effortless. As you do this breathing for a while, you will realize that many thoughts, bodily sensations, and feelings are coming up again and again in your mind. You just need to acknowledge them, that yes, they are there, but just watch them as a distant observer without indulging in them. And after acknowledging them, bring back the awareness slowly to your breath. As you will focus more and more on your breath, you will experience a stillness, and you let yourself be in this stillness, because this is where you will find yourself. You can find yourself only in stillness. You cannot find it in action. And you can be in this state for as long as you want. Just keep acknowledging the thoughts, feelings that come to you. Don't indulge in them, and bring back the attention slowly to your breath. And whenever you choose to come back, just rub your palms together and place them on your face warmly, letting it absorb the peaceful energy flowing through your hands. Then slowly open your eyes and come back to the here and now. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Pulkit, for the wonderful insight and the wonderful experiential. Rightly said, accepting our reality is really important. And sometimes, in our desire to control things and not being able to have the tolerance for frustration, can lead to an emotional imbalance. And the simile of a soft clay, which can be molded, was particularly relevant. Yes, it is indeed going with the flow. We do understand now that mindfulness is extremely important for adults' mental health, but we also wonder, will mindfulness also be able to contribute to the well being of children, particularly at this time when they are so used to the online world and the real social interaction and physical activity is missing? With this thought, I would like to invite Ms. Mahek to help us understand how mindfulness can be incorporated in the school education system. Ms. Mahek Bhadwa, please.
Namaskar, hello, and konnichiwa. I'm honored to be invited at this platform. It's a great opportunity, and looking at all of the participation, I think it's a great initiative. Thank you, Mamta ma'am. Thank you, Shreya, for a wonderful, warm welcome. Thank you, Dr. Pulkit, for your encouraging words and throwing the light on mindfulness. When I started this whole journey of mindfulness in education, school system was still a normal classroom, going to school every day sort of a thing. No virtual world was as actively involved. And that kind of led to a practice which we started in our school back in India. This was about 5 years ago. And we realized that when we come to the school in the morning, the teachers are kind of haphazard. They have to pack the lunches, and it's like the traffic. And somehow you make it if you have a punching system or whatever. You reach the class somehow, and then you start taking attendance. And students have their own battles in the morning. Some of them don't want to go to school. They wake up in the morning, and somehow you all just meet in a classroom, and then they go. Bell happens, and then okay, study mode on, math period, PE period, this period, that period. So everything happens mostly like in autopilot. So although we are physically there, we're not mentally there. And that was one of the biggest issues that I faced as a counselor while counseling teachers and parents and students. So we came up with this whole practice about what if we can just give 5 to 10 minutes in the morning, when students come in, when teachers come in, the zero period or the homeroom time, what we call. And in that time, if we can just forget about everything and mentally tune in ourselves for the classroom, for starting the day, for being present physically, mentally, energetically. And a lot of teachers then had a problem with it because they felt they were not trained to conduct or hold that space, because teachers are always adept at the subject that they are teaching, but not so much for about holding the space to creating a mindfulness classroom. So we had to backtrack, and we started a teachers training for mindfulness, where teachers came in just about 15 minutes early, attended a mindfulness session for about a month, and kind of picked up practices, felt it, because I strongly feel we understand the need for mindfulness. However, the application or the experience only comes through experience. Like, that is not something you can just hear it. You have to do it. You have to experience it to kind of really know where it can take you and the impact it has on you. So when that started happening, it was a beautiful practice, because after a month, the teachers felt a lot calmer, and they were more confident in holding that space for the students in the classroom. So we did that for about a month, where then teachers went back to their classrooms and they were able to conduct the simple mindfulness practices of just watching your breath, of just like tuning into the thing. And the impact that we saw, it was great. And what worked, I think, the best was when students started coming back to me and, they said, oh, it was such a great day. Like, because you literally can forget about everything that happened the morning before. If you had a fight with your dad or your mom, your school dress was not ironed, or whatever issues, you can just really be present. Then we thought maybe we can use this after lunchtime, because again, the energy was scattered. So how about doing it at that time? And also just before dispersal. So I guess the more you do it, the longer you do it, the easier it becomes. And that's what really happens. And just about that time, when we were kind of building that culture, I also got that opportunity of doing this at a research level in Japan. And that's how I came here and, we did an extensive research. And one thing wonderfully about mindfulness is obvious that it is universal. So not only it's applicable in just Indian schools, it was applicable at university level, at kindergarten level, at every level. And it's universal. You don't need language. I mean, you kind of need language, but you can also just hold the space and you can easily get into the zone. So I think it's very important, especially at this time, when we have a pandemic situation. India is really struggling with a lot of issues. So a lot of schools have gone online. So I guess even if with these classes, if it's possible, maybe it would be a good idea to just spend the first 5 minutes where everyone really tunes in. I mean, you're logged in, but if you can just like energetically be there to be at the space where you can receive the information that the teachers are going to offer, or just be there. So that's kind of my experience and what my vision for education is. And we all know the impact. Of course, there is neuroplasticity involved. We know that the brain can actually change when we become more grateful, when we become more in tune with ourselves and stuff. So all of that is there. It's all about forming a connection with yourself. And that just makes it just a fulfilling experience. Every day is more fulfilling than it can ever be. So one of my favorite Zen Buddhist analogies about mindfulness is that our life is like a sky, and everything, all the emotions are the clouds. What we forget is we start identifying with the clouds, and we forget about the sky, which is just behind. So, as Dr. Purkit said, just like expanding on that, you just see the sky, the focus is there, and clouds will come and go. The weathers will change. It will be windy, it will be snowy, it will be sunny, but at the end of the day, sky is what we are all made up of. So, yeah, I think that's about it. If there are any questions, I will be happy to answer later. But I guess Ms. Soumya would be next. So, thank you so much. Hi. Namaste.
Thank you, Ms. Mahek, for such a power-packed insight into the wonderful practice of starting the day with mindfulness. The research and the practical guide you shared to inculcate mindfulness into our education system was really relevant. And we would love to be the sky, and we would let the clouds pass with full experience and mindfulness. This also brings us to a point that we, as all of us, have a lot of distractions because we are multitasking. And we can benefit from becoming more aware of our own thought process and becoming more compassionate towards our own self. With this, we would like to invite Ms. Soumya to understand how can we develop self-awareness and self-compassion, and also experience the tips and techniques to practice mindfulness in our daily life. Ms. Soumya, please.
Thank you so much for the wonderful introduction at the beginning, and also I'm so happy to be here and to be listening to Dr. Pulkit and just what you shared about the school system right now, because I also strongly believe that the moment we start teaching our younger people about mindfulness is when the world begins to change, because the moment we begin changing inside, our outsides also begin to shift. So coming to the question by Ms. Mamta, which is how do we develop this seemingly airy thing known as self-compassion. Sometimes it's confused with selfishness, so I would like to perhaps throw a little bit of light on that. So self-compassion is, it comes from the root of compassion. Compassion is something that we feel towards other people. So let's say if a friend of mine is suffering right now, then I may feel this sense where I want to help her come out of that suffering. And this sense of being warm and kind towards her comes. Self-compassion is when we shine that light inwards and become aware of our own suffering and do something about our suffering. Now the thing is, and everybody who practices as a therapist or even in general, we would have seen that when you're feeling very hurt on the inside, it becomes difficult for us to be present for other people, because you don't have that kind of space within to hold space for other people. So the practice of self-compassion, which is very intricately connected to the practice of mindfulness, which is being present with yourself and with your surroundings, is about learning to be kind towards yourself, especially during times when you're suffering. So connecting it back to what you said about being distracted, we live in a world where we are sort of constantly training distraction instead of attention. One big side effect of this is also that we're also on this sort of chase of all the time we want to feel happy, or all the time we want to feel a certain good or positive emotion, so to say. But in the process, what we forget is that we are humans, and humans are going to feel happiness and sadness. We will feel joy, and sometimes we'll feel pain. So, how do we be in that space where we're feeling, let's say, I'm in a lot of pain? What do I do about that? So, I would like to talk. In fact, instead of talking, let's try a technique out, because I think that's the most powerful way of learning about this. So, what I want everyone to do now is take your right hand and then place your left hand inside it. So, it's sort of like you're forming a cup, and then you place this in the center of your chest, and then you close your eyes. Take a deep breath in and breathe out. Breathing in again and exhale. And one last time, breathing in and let go. Feeling the presence of your palm, your own presence with yourself on your chest, and acknowledge whatever comes up for you. With the next in breath, you may open your eyes. So this is one of my favorite practices of how to practice self-compassion. It's kind of like giving a hug to yourself. When we're in pain, we want to go to a friend and we want a hug. So this little gesture is a gesture of kindness towards yourself. So what I would like to leave with the audience over here and even with the panelists, the next time you're in a state of pain, instead of trying to distract yourself, which is what we've trained ourselves to do, which is instead of going on Instagram or maybe going to the kitchen and eating something when you're not hungry, try giving yourself this little gesture, this little hug, which is this sense of, I can see that I'm suffering and I choose to be here with myself during this suffering. So that's a little bit about self-compassion and the way that this begins to shift our lives, especially for younger people who are in school right now, because they're going, the adolescence is an age of such changes that are happening in your life. The moment you learn to be present with yourself, and there's this space inside, suddenly you have all of this space within you, this love within you to also involve other people in your life. So this is a great practice that we can all learn and include in our lives. So that's a little bit about self-compassion.
Thank you, Ms. Soumya. This is actually a deep understanding that we are able to get for being kind to ourselves, to create a space with this hands-on experience of giving ourselves a hug. That's a wonderful takeaway for all of us. It actually gives us an insight into this important mindfulness practice, that it'll actually help us use these techniques in daily life, and we can actually make it a part of our daily life and our thought process. Now we'll move on to another interesting but a less talked about topic under mindfulness. It is a very important aspect to be related to mindfulness, but as it is less talked about, I would like to invite Ms. Kashika, who is a rehabilitation professional in the making. And we would like Ms. Kashika to talk about the importance of mindfulness in rehabilitation programs. Over to Ms. Kashika.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you, Mamta ma'am, for having me here. And thank you for the wonderful introduction in the beginning, and I'm really honored to be a part of such amazing panelists here today. So I'm doing physical therapy, and I'm in the second year of physical therapy in Delhi. And I'm really interested in mindfulness. I've been reading about this for over 2-3 years now. And now slowly when I start correlating it with what I'm studying and how can it really help the patients come out of pain, that journey of rehabilitation, of coming back to your normal life after an injury or after a surgery is not so easy. It is a very painful process. But maybe mindfulness can help to make it more enjoyable, easy to come out of, and the main aim is to come out of the autopilot mode and take control of your body and your mind. And especially during pandemic, physical activity we all know has immense impacts on our body and how it can help us day to day. But if we combine it with the mindfulness practices, it can really protect us, especially during these times when we have so many mental pressures and physical pressures. Physical activity is so low. So there have been many researches on this, and it has really helped people with stroke as well. With in cancer patients, we have been told about so many case studies in our college where cancer patients easily came out of this during their physical therapy treatments and with mindfulness combined. So there are three major steps to it. That is, first of all, pay attention to what you're doing. If you're injured, pay attention to what you want out of that treatment. Then be present in that moment when you are getting treated, when the treatment is being performed. Be present there. Don't think about why did this happen to me or the ifs and buts of the future, but on that treatment. And third is be in a non-judgmental environment. It is important for your doctor to be non-judgmental, for you to be non-judgmental, and accept the things how they are. Just let it go. Have faith in your doctor and what they're doing to you. Have faith in God. And this mindfulness technique is basically bringing you out, bringing the patient out of the why me the mindset, that why did this only happen to me, and focus on getting only better. So that's it from my side, and yes, I hope that what I told you really helped you out and will help you later.
Thank you, Ms. Kashika, for helping us understand this special concern of neurological and physiological rehabilitation. Yes, we do understand a lot of research is there into the healing of pain as well as for cancer patients with the use of mindfulness. The steps that you shared were also empowering. With this, we would like to invite our student representative, Ms. Durba Roy, to share her views on how mindfulness can actually benefit the students' community. Over to you, Durba.
So, I would like to start with saying that a very good afternoon to everyone. Firstly, I would like to extend my sincere thanks to my teachers and DPS Rohini for giving me this opportunity to express my views on the benefits of mindfulness in children. So, to start off on a very simple note, mindfulness is not something that only the adults have to practice or that can be grown inside of someone just because someone told you to do it. It's an attribute that everyone possesses. We just have to find it, bring it on, and access it. And being a teenager myself, I would strongly agree that we do have a lot of going on in our lives where we are constantly undergoing various forms of stresses, anxiety, identity confusion, role in society, etc. And mindfulness can give teens a tool to stop their habitual automatic reactions, which are often harmful to themselves and even to the society. So it allows them to take a break, come back to the present moment, come back to their breath, rediscover their inner strength and inner resilience. And from that place, they can go better, see their situation more clearly, and make a wiser decision on how to respond. And I feel that mindfulness is a topic that among teenagers that is rarely talked about, and instead there are so many people out there who are advocating about mental health but not exactly providing solutions to it. And moreover, amidst this busy and overwhelming environment, children or teenagers might forget to maintain the routines of mindfulness, or even on some days they might find this practice a burden too. And this is exactly where I feel that parents have a very big role to play. Because if parents are not sensitized enough and they lack knowledge of all these terms and practices, so their children will face more stress or depressive situations than others. And definitely, mindfulness is something that requires time, and it's not necessary that it's going to work in one go. So, if it is fostered at a very young age, the same children or those teenagers, for that matter, won't face much problems in their adulthood when suffering from hardships or, say, an unprecedented situation comes their way. So, in other words, as we grow from toddlers to teenagers to adults in life, through each developmental stage, mindfulness can be a useful tool for decreasing anxiety and promoting happiness. So I would like to end on this note that this fact is quite unequivocal that if we incorporate changes right now, we won't face problems later on. We can bring a change before the worst happens. Thank you.
Well said, Durba. Wonderful perspective shared, especially mindfulness of coming out of the autopilot into being in the present. It is applicable actually to all situations and all age groups, and definitely a regular practice will be something that can be initiated at a young age, and everybody can benefit from it thereafter. With this, we would like to invite another student representative, Ronnie, for sharing the understanding how actually students can use mindfulness in their daily life to deal with different situations. Over to you, Ronnie.
Good morning, everyone. The last few months have certainly been some trying times for all of us, but perhaps especially so for students. The lack of social interaction, not being able to hang out with our friends, the tests and the assignments, as well as the expectations of all those around us, can leave us feeling sad, frustrated, and perhaps even unwilling to work. I think this is where mindfulness comes in. Because at its core, mindfulness is all about being aware of where you are, what you're doing, being aware of your emotions and feelings, and not letting the environment overpower you. And one of the reasons I think that it's so useful is because it frees you from the burden of excess thinking. You're able to fully concentrate on the present moment. And of course, that means better focus, and you're less likely to get distracted. And mindfulness as a practice also helps stress and anxiety. Mindfulness becomes when we become aware of our present moment, we can make conscious decisions instead of acting on instinct. Research also indicates that the people who practice mindfulness, students in particular, they have better working memories, they are more cognitively flexible, and they function well under stress, as well as being more empathetic and compassionate towards themselves and others. Now, as for implementing mindfulness, meditation is one of the most common and efficient ways of doing it. It's incredibly time efficient, it doesn't take a lot of time. Just a simple breathing meditation of a few minutes will do just fine. Thank you.
Thank you, Ronnie. That was, in fact, very wonderfully articulated, particularly the focus on the breathing techniques and a regular practice to incorporate it into our daily life to handle our issues. With this, I would like to share a beautiful quote to sum up all that has been said till now. In today's rush, we all think too much, we seek too much, we want too much, and we forget about the joy of just being. Eckhart Tolle. Now, with this, we would also like to understand the specific ways in which we can use mindfulness in actually addressing a wide gamut of mental health concerns. In fact, how mindfulness can help us in achieving self-actualization in wake of issues related to. So, on one hand, we have wanting to achieve, a growth level, a satisfaction level. Along with that, we have issues that people are facing related to a lot of mental health concerns, be it confidence, be it depression, be it exam, be it performance pressures, a lot of stresses. So I would like to ask Dr. Pulkit here that what are the different ways in which we can try and achieve this emotional balance to have a self growth, being in a world which is full of chaos, maintaining our internal balance with positivity, with hope, and with confidence. Over to you, Dr. Pulkit.
I think the most important thing that we all need to start with is to create a balance between being and doing. If you see our lives these days, we are mostly doing. We are rushing from one activity to another activity. Whenever we have some spare time, we get very restless and we get hold of a gadget. Either it's a television or it's a phone. We constantly need something to do. We all have become like that. So I think what's very important right from the very beginning is to just, for a few moments, every day, start with just being with yourself, not doing anything, just be in one place, no music, no gadgets, no books, nothing. and focus on your own self. I think that's very important thing to start with. I'll tell you one thing. I was once at a panel, where they were like interviewing, the parents of children, who were seeking the admission in schools. And believe you me, when I was walking through the parents and the children, into the room, I could see that it was every parent was holding a cell phone and every child was looking inside the cell phone. So think of it that we can't really be with ourselves. So I think we need to just start with this. That's the basic thing to start with. Because that will then open opportunities for other things. Yeah.
Absolutely agreed, Dr. Pulkit. The state of being rather than just the state of doing, that's really relevant. And
Yeah.
being with yourself, spending time with your own self, which is free from distractions, free from external stimulus, just enjoying the company of your own best friend, that is you yourself. Rightly
Mhm.
said. With this, I would like to invite Miss Mahek by asking her a question. Miss Mahek, as counselors, how do we train students and teachers? You've focused a lot on that also. In fact, you started sharing with your practices that you had worked on in the school setting. But I would want you to further delve into it and talk about how the mindfulness practice can be further used and how it can actually develop patience in the education community and even reducing stress, even working with aspects like time management and personality development. Over to you, Ms. Mahek.
Yes, thank you for the question. I'll do my best to answer it. Um, while I was listening, and especially what Dhurba said, one of the things that came back to me, I remember these two students who came back to my office and they said, after a month of practicing mindfulness, they said, last evening, my father was getting really mad at me because I was not studying. So I just told him to go sit by himself and he should start breathing consciously. So I think it was wonderful because sometimes, as adults, we forget the connection with ourselves and we have to go back to it. And the whole idea of building this mindfulness culture in an education system is that instead of at maybe 30s, 40s realizing, oh my God, we have missed out on this, and then having that realization and then unlearning all of that and then relearning this process, if it builds into the culture of education, it makes a lot more sense. Then you are already equipped with all you need, whether it's like to deal with stress, whether it's to deal with your personality, whether it's to build confidence, because as you said, once we have a connection with ourselves, our best friends, the answers are all within. So it's all about like practicing every day. And I know it's always easier said than done that, oh, we all know it's good for us. The problem is to practice it, to be able to take out that time and actually do it. And that's why if it becomes part of the school culture, like we have subjects, if it's like mandated, then every student is already equipped with it. They already know, they're already doing it. And by doing that, it's a great space for teachers. When they are teaching in class and they have gone through a session of mindfulness before they start teaching, they're in a better space. They can be the best version of themselves in that classroom in that moment. And students can be the receiver of that best version. Likewise, once they are doing it so often and it's part of the thing, like, parents are used to students doing their homework, then they can also see the students working mindfulness techniques at home, and just how children absorb whatever parents are doing. At that point, parents can also absorb. And frequently, schools I know are taking a lot of initiative involving parents as part of the school program. And they can be like parent involvement days. They can be where parents who are busy in their work and stress can also be taught such techniques. And maybe students such as, Shreya, Durga, Ronnie, they all spoke about, they can be the torch bearers. Let them conduct a session for the parents and tell them that this is the way forward, because ultimately the child is the father of a man. And I think if it comes from there, it is definitely more accepted. And I always see this as a one-stop solution to all problems, whether it's academic, whether it's personal, whether it's stress related, whether it's pandemic related, because once you're solid inside, once you know the sky, whether the clouds don't matter. I hope it kind of answers the question.
Thank you, Ms. Mahek. Yes, regular reminders are really important for all of us because we do tend to forget. And regular pauses, in fact, like Dr. Pulkit also mentioned, when we forget about it and the moment we are aware, we can all bring back our breath, we can all become aware of our breathing and we can be in the present moment. So that's also something we can do. At the same time, yes, creating a culture of mindfulness in the school system is something that is really encouraging because that can be taken forward by the students and that obviously will affect the families also in a positive manner by giving ourselves time and being kind to ourselves and spending time with our own self and our own thought process can actually make things so much better and actually can empower us to deal with so many issues in such a calm manner. With this, I would like to invite Miss Soumya, and I would like to ask this question about how can mindfulness actually enhance our efficiency and especially coping in a fast paced world where we have so much to handle at the same time, and how do we build resilience, positivity and hope along with efficiency and handling so many issues along at the same time. So over to you, Ms. Soumya.
Such a wonderful question. Anytime I'm attending anything related to mindfulness, I'm always reminded of no matter how many years you have been practicing this, you're still always a beginner. So I think there's so much that I'm also learning here right now. And to talk about how do we inculcate this, especially in a world where there is so much distraction and we are constantly sort of doing one thing and the other, it reminds me of something that I was talking about with my students yesterday when we were discussing multitasking and how media multitasking is now a thing, and we would like to believe that we are all really good at doing 4 or 5 different things at the same time. But there is research after research that has shown that when we are trying to multitask or switch between 3 or 4 different things at the same time, we're actually not doing any of those tasks well. So this is where I think the practice of mindfulness comes in, because unlike what our world is training us these days, which is this training of being distracted all the time, mindfulness is about being aware and developing our attention and concentration in the moment. So I think that's one key takeaway for students here right now, that if you find that you're constantly fidgety and you're constantly impulsive, it may be time to sort of step back and look at what are you really training your mind to do, because eventually your mind will do whatever you train it to do. You train it to be distracted, then you will be distracted, right? But if you train it to be more attentive, if you train it to be more mindful, then that's the skill that you will end up developing. So I really like what Mahek had said about starting the day on a calm note, where if you're coming from home and you're sort of really frazzled, you take 5 minutes to sit down with yourself. Your teachers take 5 minutes to sit down, and everybody creates this sense of calm around. And that is also one way of learning how to be mindful. Having said that, it also, what comes to my mind are some of my students who may not want to sit down and practice a sit down breathing meditation. So for those students, I always like to see the whole idea of mindfulness is it's not the same thing as meditation. Meditation is a tool that can help you become more mindful. But that also means that there are so many other things that we can teach our students to do or that we can practice ourselves. So something that you can try, and you can try it with me right now, is I'd invite you to bring all your, what do I call these, fingertips together. Bring them together so it's sort of, and then close your fingertips. And now as you inhale, I want you to open your arms. And then as you exhale, you close it again. And then you inhale, open once again. Exhale, close. So this is a very simple way of coming back to your breath and coming back to your body at the same time. See, the thing is that your mind can be in 1,000 different places at the same time, but physically you can only be in the here and now, which means this is your biggest tool of coming back. So if you find that a sit down meditation practice is difficult, then you can try something like coming back to your body. You can also try, one of my favorite ways to come back is I play a song and then I will just move to it. But I also connect my breath to my movement, and so I get in this state of flow, and then I'm back, instead of if I've entered like a toxic thought world where I'm constantly thinking about something. Another way, which is something that we may sometimes discourage as teachers, but it's actually really good for students, is to let them doodle when they're doodling, because that's also helping you come back. Some students actually focus much better if they're doodling and they're listening at the same time. So these are some simple techniques that I use with my students, especially ones who may find it, at least at the beginning of their practice, to sit down and do a sit down practice. Eventually, after you've been practicing some kinesthetic techniques, then you can start coming back solely to your breath without any other distractions. And the more you practice this, the more space you are going to have inside, which means you will feel great. When we feel great within, we're just kinder to other people. And also connecting it back to what Dr. Pulkit had said about, we definitely need to learn how to tolerate frustration and the problems that come in our lives. The more we become okay with the fact that, this is a human life and there will be issues and it's not going to be perfect, the more resilient we will start getting, I believe.
Wonderfully answered all the questions in such a clear way. Thank you, Ms. Soumya. And I do agree that multitasking is something that a lot of researchers say there's nothing as multitasking, because you're actually focusing your attention on different things, and therefore as a result of that you end up losing your attention and you're not able to remember everything. So definitely focusing on the present and focusing on the current task and being aware of ourselves, our breathing and our body and mind and thoughts is really important. So yes, training our mind is really important, and the customized ways that you shared definitely will resonate with different students and different people who have different learning styles. And yes, we need to be kind to our own selves, then only we can be kind to other people. With this thought, I would like to invite Ms. Kashika, and I would like Ms. Kashika to focus on the area of social media. So being a student and how does the social media information, so much is available at the click of the mouse, and this can become a challenge for a rehab professional, and particularly when you're using mindfulness and trying to work as a rehab professional with so much information overload. So how do you address this concern of overload of social media with being able to work with mindfulness and being able to bring in a balance in the rehab professional area? Over to you, Kashika.
Thank you for the question, ma'am. So, I usually do not like to rely a lot on what I find on the internet. I prefer what my teachers are telling me, the books that I'm reading, and that is my source of knowledge. Yes, definitely. There's so many things that you find on social media. Most of the things are wrong also, and sometimes it gets really confusing on what to pay attention on, what to believe, and what not to believe. But I think I by now I have chosen what things and which people I need to rely on, and I have placed my trust in who would give me 100% authentic. 100% authentic feedbacks on whatever I ask them. So I think for me, it depends on person to person. I have realized this over a period of time on what suits me. So I work according to that. So I think it really depends on an individual and the situation that they're in.
Yeah. Thank you, Kashika. The understanding from a teenager to a young adult, where you actually become aware of your priorities and you can actually selectively choose the information source, that is really going to go a long way in helping you deal with the situation. I would now like to invite Ms. Durba for sharing her motivation for actually using the mindfulness practice in daily life. Durba, you've actually covered a very interesting area, and I would want you to share your understanding. What was the motivation actually for using and understanding this whole practice of mindfulness, and how you can connect this for others and for your own self in daily life? Your major learning and takeaways. Durba, are you coming in?
Yeah, sorry, I wasn't able. Firstly, yourself, and then with the others in the society. So there you foster qualities like appreciation, compassion, and having a positive outlook towards life. Third would be insight. Insight into the narratives that we experience. There are people who are always constantly thinking about thoughts like, I can't go on, I'm such a loser. But a healthy mind would try to change that narrative, or even if it can't, it'll try to change the connection with it. And fourth would be purpose, knowing that our lives are pretty dynamic and there are going to be situations in our life that we have to face. So just accepting it, accepting the opportunities also that come our way. Thanks.
Thank you, Durba. Wonderfully put. Now, I would like to invite Ronnie for sharing the understanding that how can we actually use mindfulness in the students' community, the understanding that you could develop, which will help you to make a difference in your life and that of the other students. Over to you, Ronnie.
I think one thing that we all do as students more than adults is that we think a lot about the past and the future. Like we're either thinking about what we did before that was wrong, or we're looking ahead and thinking of what might happen. So that kind of drags our attention away from the most important thing, the present moment, because that's where you can find the most meaning. That's where you can find true peace, perhaps would be the right word. And so one way that we can, like I said, the breathing meditations, of course, are a good way of starting off. But more than that, I think you've got to make it a part of your life. Because sure, you can do the exercises, but until you inculcate it into your being, you probably won't experience all the benefits you could. So that might be a good way to start.
Yeah. Wow, that's actually such a deep understanding where we realize that there's more to mindfulness than just meditation. Due to paucity of time, it will not be possible to take more questions. We try to answer as many questions as possible. We would also try and send the questions if there are any further questions by mail to the panelists. With this, I would like to conclude the session with a quote: "Be happy in the moment, that's enough. Each moment is all that we need, not more," by Mother Teresa. With this, we also come to the end of the series of webinars with the hope that the diverse topics we tried to link under the mental health gamut would be able to significantly make a difference in your life, and you will be able to use it effectively with the insights and learnings that resonated with you. I thank all the panelists and now would like to invite Ms. Vidushi for the vote of thanks.
Thank you, ma'am. With this, we come to the end of the third and the last webinar of our event Kaleidoscope. We're extremely grateful to Dr. Purkit Sharma, Ms. Mahek Bhadwa Benham, Ms. Soumya Mathur, and Ms. Kashika Bhatia for being with us and sharing their insights. We also thank our students, Durba Roy and Ronnie Gupta, for their enthusiastic participation. The event would have been incomplete without Ms. Mamta Nangya's moderation. Everyone is requested to fill the feedback form available in the YouTube chat and the Microsoft Teams chat. An event like this cannot happen overnight. The wheels started rolling weeks ago. We have been fortunate enough to be backed by a team of very dedicated and motivated students and teachers. We thank our principal, ma'am, Ms. Vibhas, for providing us with a platform for putting up this event. We also thank our vice principal, ma'am, Ms. Kanika S. Govi, for guiding us throughout. We extend our sincere thanks to all the eminent guests who graced this occasion and motivated us with their valuable knowledge. And now I request you all to stand straight for the National Anthem.
जनगणमन अधिनायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा द्राविड उत्कल बंगा विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उच्चल जलधि तरंगा तव शुभ नामे जागे तव शुभ आशीष मांगे गाहे तव जय गाथा जन गण मंगलदायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 हे